My little itty-bitty bruiser buddies.
United States heavyweight champion from Brazil.
The world's heavyweight champion from the AWA, Nick Bockwinkel.
The Midwest supporting, bruiser loving, positivity spreading, world's most dangerous podcast. Join former pro wrestler and promoter Dave Dynasty as he supports and promotes Midwest pro wrestling. Keep on growing with the Midwest Express. This is the Dave Dynasty Show.
And greetings and welcome to the Dave Dynasty Show. I am your host, Dave Dynasty. Thank you for joining us for another episode. And unfortunately, I have to open up with mentioning the passing of Larry the Axe Hennig. Larry was a legend in professional wrestling, particularly here in the Midwest, particularly in the AWA, the Minnesota area. And it caught me off guard to hear of his passing. I just really, wasn't thinking of it. We just talked with Larry here not too long ago, had him on the show, and it's a great interview. You can go back to episode 110, just a few episodes ago, and hear that interview, and I highly suggest you do. What a wonderful guy he was, and he will truly be missed, so rest easy, Axe, and thanks for all the memories. And we do have a great show for you here today. We have on the show one of the young Midwest upstarts, Hollywood Adam Swayze, and we have a Whatever Happened To with Andy Shane, both those on the show today. But we're going to kick off here. I'm going to talk. I don't have a co-host. And we're doing things a little different. We're going to do every once in a while. We're going to discuss a few headlines in wrestling, just a couple here. And let's first talk about Shane Mercer. How about this clip that everyone is talking about of Shane Mercer using bleachers for a weapon? We have a clip here talking to Shane. Ike Isaacs, my co-host, talks to Shane Mercer. So let's go to that right now. Shane Mercer talking about bleachers.
How you doing today, Shane?
I'm doing good. I can't complain. How you doing?
Hey, rocking and rolling, living the dream, taking it day by day. So, Shane, there's a clip that everybody has seen. I mean, people who don't watch wrestling, people who watch wrestling, everybody across multiple platforms have seen it. It's been featured on Sports Illustrated Online, and it's a clip taken by Wrestling with Unicorns showing you using a section of bleachers as a weapon against the Gym Nasty Boys. So tell us what the hell was going on there? What made you decide to just lift them sumbitches up and just hit them with it?
Well, honestly, man, I'm just going to break the ice. That was all CGI. It was fake. It never happened. No, I'm just messing with it. Honestly, whenever he's out there for the show, Resistance, he used to go by just Resistance Pro, and it's kind of relabeled himself into more of like in-your-face, no DQ, hardcore style promotion.
Right.
And most of the matches, almost every, well, I might as well say every match at night is, no DQ now, more of an ECW style rules kind of sort of ordeal. And I knew with that being an entire card of that kind of deal, I had to do, if I want to stand out, I got to do something different. Or what's something different that I don't feel like everybody else can do. I'm already in there in the handicap match with the gymnastics, and as you already know, they're already over the top and rambunctious in their sort of style of what they do and the things that they went viral for themselves and for. So I felt like I had to kind of do something out of nowhere, or just kind of in more of my element to match their, so to speak, their deal of what they do.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, it's definitely unique. I've never seen a video, or anybody for that matter, pick up a set of bleachers and use it as a weapon. So, points for creativity. But I guess, I don't know, did you think, have you ever thought about doing that before? Have you ever thought to yourself, let's just do that? Or when you walked in, you're just like, hey, there's some bleachers, let's go ahead and take it over the top? Because like you said, the Gym Nasty Boys are a little out there. So did you just kind of think about it on the fly, or was it something you maybe planned out a little bit?
Honestly, it was, I wanted to use the bleachers, and I've used them before, but then when I never practiced them, so I didn't know, how it was going to be. But when I got out there, I was just like, you know what? Terry Funk does the ladder spot. How about I one-up it a little bit and do the ladder spot with a freaking set of bleachers? That's kind of ridiculous. Let's do it. I'm going to go for it. And then it happened. And then mid-match, I was like, well, hell, let's just throw these in the ring, too. And that was not, nobody knew about nothing going on. That was just kind of happened.
And I mean, did you expect to get this kind of response and coverage on it? I mean, I guess nobody really expects to go to get sent to the top of the the internet fame charts or anything like that. But did you think that this would get videotaped, put on the internet, and then everyone's going to be like, "Oh yeah, Shane Mercer, the guy with the bleachers"? Did you ever think that was going to happen?
I knew there'd be a few people talking about it, but I had no earthly idea that this was going to go as viral as it did and explode like that. But I mean, I guess it is something different, and that's what people are looking for today in wrestling. More so, I mean, they always say the average video on YouTube with the most views is typically like 1 to 2 minutes or somewhere around there. And I knew with something like this, it would get out there, but I had no idea it would get picked up by all the major outlets like it did. No way at all could predict that.
No, absolutely. Like I said, I mean, obviously the internet's unpredictable just in general. It's the internet, but I mean, what's it been like? I mean, you've been seen by so many different people, like I mentioned, by people who have never watched wrestling, people who were just scrolling by on their Facebook feed and just happened to see this. I mean, what's it like being featured by so many people, but also by so many sites?
It's pretty nuts, honestly. It's pretty nuts, humbling, and awesome all in one. Because, like I said, I never expected to be something like that. But I've already gotten, probably like 60 to 80 messages in like one day, just from all that, and like hundreds of tweets. And I think it had like close to, last I checked, like 50-something thousand plus views on the thing. It's just nuts on how much, viewership something like that can just spread and how quickly it can, and how far it actually got there to begin with. I guess the real tone of what Seth when Sports Illustrated covered it, that was more of a, whoa, these dudes are covering it. Okay. This is really picking up some speed here now.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what I was going to say, too. I just kind of seen it in passing because, I'm friends with some various people who, work various promotions. So I figured, maybe it was just a local thing. But then I remember I was talking to Dave prior to this, and he had mentioned that it was covered by Sports Illustrated. I'm like, pardon my French, but holy shit. I was like, that's awesome. Like, like that's incredible. But of course, all of us here in the Midwest who have followed your career, because I mean, we've kind of talked before on the show with you before, and I've seen you a couple different times in person wrestle, which has been really awesome. And we've seen you perform so many amazing feats in the ring and the gym. But coming off of this exposure, what's next for Shane Mercer? How do you plan to raise the bar again?
I mean, I don't have no certain set way to raise the bar except go out there and do the same thing that I've been doing this whole time, except, bigger and better everywhere I go. I have some new promotions I'm looking to head out for, and some big things coming up early 2019. I just don't want to let loose what those are, just I'll let people kind of see what's up.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Well, hey, so that people can kind of give you some more love and kind of follow your career a little bit, for people who aren't already following you, which if they're not following you yet, which is crazy, what's your social media, Facebook, Twitter, and whatnot that people can follow you at?
You can find me on Facebook, obviously, at Shane Mercer. You can follow me on Instagram at Shane Mercer. You can follow me at Twitter. Follow me on Twitter at The Iron Demon, or even on Snapchat with some of my escapades at XCF Diablo.
There you go. So you guys have all the social medias and all that good jazz. So if you've not already followed them, follow them now. And I'm sure everybody who is listening has or should see that video because it is absolutely crazy. But thanks for joining us, Shane, and talking about this and all of us here at the Dave Dynasty Show. Couldn't be happier for all the attention you're getting because you most certainly deserve it. But thank you again for coming on here. I know it's Friday, so I'm sure you're heading out there now to get to a show, or you're probably already at a show.
Yeah, I actually am at a show right now. I do have a one little thing with the bleacher thing, kind of a funny story that you'd probably get a kick out of hearing it.
Yeah,
whenever I was bringing them down to the ring, the whole idea was to put them in the ring and do the deal. Except I ran into one problem. Whenever I got to the ring, there was no steps, so that was kind of an issue on getting them in there. Whenever you're carrying like 18-foot bleachers. So I tried to get Sean, he was a ref at the time, to help me put them in there because obviously it was just weird and awkward because I originally thought just to walk up. So then I look at the fans and I'm like, well, how many of y'all want to help me do something that's stupid as shit but awesome? And of course they're all, oh, yeah. And they had like 6 fans and the ref, and I mean, that's how we all got the bleachers in the ring. But it was kind of funny in itself, just,
You're like, well, who wants to help me do some dumb shit, but it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, pretty much. And then, of course, they're all like, oh, yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. And that's even greater too, that you're just like, oh fuck it, let's get some people to help me.
I mean, yeah, it was already there, so hell, why not?
And there you have Shane Mercer discussing that infamous clip that's gone viral that of everybody has seen now of him using the bleachers as weapons. If you'd like to hear more with Shane, you can go back in our archives to episode 37, way back, and hear our interview with Shane as he was a guest on the show then. Now let's move on. We're going to also talk about, how about the Young Guns Tournament here? Just a episode or two ago, a couple episodes ago, on episode 112, you heard our Young Guns special where we talked with Joey Owens, talked about the tournament. It is now done in the books, and your winner of the 2018 Young Guns Tournament is Johnathan Wolf. And once again, we got Ike Isaacs on the case here. He's with Johnathan discussing that tournament and discussing his big win. So let's go to Ike and Johnathan now.
How you doing, Johnathan?
Fine. How are you guys doing?
Doing fantastic, and I want to say you're probably doing a little better than fine because, Johnathan, you are the 2018 Young Guns Tournament winner. Oh man, I bet that must feel good. So I bet that's pretty exciting, and that's the reason we're bringing you on here today. So we're just going to jump right into it. So you won the 2018 Young Guns Tournament. I know that in past interviews you talked about this one or prior Young Gun tournaments. So this is probably a big deal to win one of these. So what went through your mind after you won and stood in the ring?
Well, honestly, it was a lot taken because, as most know, that was my third year in the finals, and the last 2 years just haven't been the best luck for me. I've lost both of them.
Right.
Been so much.
No, absolutely. And I think especially since you had such a history with the tournament, it's been kind of it was a good win. It was a very heavy win, but definitely I'm glad, obviously, to hear that you did, of course, win. But you almost had a kind of a picture perfect finish, if you will. You were there with your family, your friends, guys you shared the ring with countless times, and it was in your home, Outlaw Arena. I mean, could you have written a better finish to your end if you tried?
Honestly, no. I couldn't think of anything else that could have happened.
You're just like, I had a checklist and it was all checked off before we even started.
Oh yeah. I think that last check mark for the wins. That was the only thing left.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. And you had quite the, I guess, track to tread before you got to the finals. I guess the tail of the tape, if you will. You defeated Corey Storm and Brian Pillman Jr. in a triple threat match, and then beat Myron Reed in the semis. And then you beat Ace Austin and Calvin Tankman in a triple threat match to win the tournament. I mean, that's all in the night's work. And I mean, those are some pretty talented folks that you had to go through before you got to that finish. But out of the entire night, what stands out most from these matches to you?
Is that pretty much everyone that I was in, I probably wasn't the number one pick for everybody. That probably stands out the most. People expected me not to beat everybody that I wrestled. I guarantee you probably Pillman was the favorite in the triple threat. And then as I went to the second, people were like, well, Myron's the favorite in that one. And then when it came down to the finals, it was either Ace or Calvin. I felt like the underdog there. I felt like I wasn't liked by everybody.
Right. Hey, there's nothing wrong with that, though. Underdog victory is, I guess, the fairy tale ending for a lot of people, right? The underdog gets the win. And definitely that might have been the case, but by no means are you stuck with that underdog title, because your career is definitely on the rise. And you've done so much already. I remember talking to you a while back. I remember listening to things that you talked to with Dave at different times. So I definitely have kind of kept an eye on your career, because I remember seeing you in the Ted Petty Invitational facing off against, he doesn't go by it anymore, but having a hard time remembering his name, Chris Hero. You were in the ring with Chris Hero and Ted Petty Invitational. So I remember seeing you back then, and then to see you kind of progress into this is pretty awesome. But what's next for Johnathan Wolf? I feel like for somebody your age, Russ, you've done a lot. So what's the next step?
The next step is to hopefully have 2019 be my year. That's hopefully the next step. Is that not people, like certain little groups knowing who I am. I want the whole world to know who I am.
Absolutely. I mean, that's the best goal. Everybody knows your name, and you're able to, walk out of there knowing that you left that impact. So certainly that's a good goal, and hopefully you do accomplish that. But of course, I guess kind of one thing I wanted to touch on, with everything that you kind of went through, obviously you got pretty. I would say you got pretty battered going through the tournament. And then having that final victory obviously was kind of like that tumultuous end where you'd kind of battled through to this point from previous tournaments. And next year, hopefully they have another Young Guns tournament. Do you think that you'll participate in that again to try and take the crown again?
Honestly, I don't know yet. I've always been a big believer in once you get your win, cash out.
That's right. Don't try to press your luck.
Push the luck. Yeah, don't.
Absolutely. And
I don't know. Yeah, that's a question for the future.
So that's a question for the future, and definitely we'll try to catch up with you before then. But definitely, first of all, I want to thank you for taking the time every day. Busy guy, of course, going around winning tournaments and all. But thanks for coming out here and talking to us. And, and everybody here at the Dave Dynasty Show, of course, wants to again congratulate you on your win. And then everybody, if you don't already know his social media, Johnathan, if you want to throw your social media out there for people to go check up on you and follow you in your future endeavors.
Oh yeah, you can find me on Instagram at team_Johnathan and at Little NyQuil on Twitter.
You said at Little NyQuil, is that what you said?
Yes, that's what it said.
Like NyQuil, like the medicine?
Yep.
That is fantastic. All right. Everybody go follow Little NyQuil.
All right. There's Johnathan Wolf, Little NyQuil, the 2018 Young Guns Tournament winner. And again, if you'd like to hear more with Johnathan, you can go back into archives again. Go back even further this time to episode 24, where we have a full interview with Johnathan Wolf. Watch him. Big things in the future for Johnathan Wolf. Well, right now, that's all we're going to hear in the opening. We're going to take a quick break, and when we come back after this, we will have the interview with Hollywood Adam Swayze, so stick around. If you are looking for the best books, DVDs, and posters on classic wrestling nostalgia, then you want to visit crowbarpress.com. There are literally dozens of titles there, including biographies of the likes of Bruiser Brody, Ole Anderson, Ivan Koloff, and of course, Dick the Bruiser, as we've spoke about here on the Dave Dynasty Show. You want to visit crowbarpress.com for all of your classic wrestling nostalgia needs. Again, that is crowbarpress.com.
And welcome back to the Dave Dynasty Show. I am your co-host, Ike Isaacs, and today we are joined with none other than Hollywood Adam Swayze. How are we doing today?
I'm doing wonderful. How are you?
Doing fantastic, well, Adam. We're just going to jump right
I don't really care.
Right. Well, we're going to jump right into it anyways. Well, tell us, Adam, where are you from?
Hollywood, California.
That's quick and easy. Makes sense. What was it like growing up in Hollywood, California?
I mean, it was great. When you're blessed to be the absolute best, it's self-made. More money than you've ever made in your life. More money than anyone listening to this has ever made in their life. I mean, I'm a movie star. You probably know that, though. You've probably seen all my movies. I don't blame you.
You're probably not right. I'm probably not wrong about the money part. I'm pretty broke, so you're probably right. But let's talk a little bit about wrestling, because as we know, this is a wrestling podcast. Have you always been a wrestling fan, or are you recently a wrestling fan?
Oh, I've always kind of had my eye on it, Obviously, the film industry has taken over, but it took over for a little bit, and now I'm pursuing my goals here in the wrestling world.
Fair enough. So you said you kind of kept an eye on it. So I guess at what point in time did you, or I should say, do you have any favorites in the wrestling business? I should say, is there anybody that you like more than yourself?
Let me. Of course, Eddie Guerrero comes to mind.
Okay.
First off, of course. Probably just because he's kind of like me. Probably Mr. Perfect Kurt Hennig. He's pretty good.
He's got perfect
And
in the
then
name.
exactly. And then maybe Brian Pillman possibly. He was pretty good. I enjoy a lot of his stuff. More of the older WCW days than the WWF when he was in there, but those are the top three that come to mind.
Yeah, I mean that's a good top three, I'd say.
Yeah.
So I guess to kind of rewind a little bit, you mentioned kind of previously that you'd like you said you're Hollywood, California. That's the name Hollywood Adam Swayze. He's like you said, acting career, and then you kind of went into wrestling. But what hooked you into wrestling? What was it that drug you away from your previous endeavors to this?
Honestly, probably just the hard work that everyone puts into it. All the passion and everything. I mean, like, I've seen guys that have been lifelong fans, that have loved it ever since they were 2 years old and everything. And they've just been working so hard, and then, I come along and I can just do it with ease. And honestly, the jealousy on their face whenever they see it, it kind of warms my heart a little bit, just to know that in the back of their minds that they're good, but they're never as good as Adam Swayze.
That's absolutely right. So, pretty good motivation to jump into the wrestling business then. And obviously, like you said, you were able to do it with ease. Did you have any kind of formal training when you first got into the business?
Actually, the place that really took me under their wing is a place that I still perform for today. I'm currently their tri-state champion, the Northern Wrestling Federation in Cincinnati, Ohio. It sucks that I had to go to Cincinnati, Ohio to find it, but, I mean, I don't really like Roger Ruffin too much, but I gotta say, he knows what he's talking about when it comes to the wrestling business, so.
Yeah, I hear Cincinnati is not as nice as Hollywood.
Oh, no, not at all, actually. I hate it.
Well, hopefully you move on to bigger and better things one day. Maybe somewhere a little sunnier, right?
Right.
So let me ask you this. So you had your training. You moved away from your previous endeavors and you went into wrestling. Had your training. Do you remember what your first match was? And what that match was like?
My first match was June 12th of 2017, I believe. It was against I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but Big Jake Shepard. He was with the NWF at the time. And I came out, of course, beat him down, as I always do. He had to, kind of cheat his way out of beating me, but I mean, everyone that actually beats me has to cheat anyway. So it's fine. It's fine because I always get my way. With how money I got, I can do whatever I want.
No, yeah, absolutely, and that's what we like to hear. So like you said, maybe a little rough going, but pretty good first match then.
I mean, I hear like a lot of people say that they're always like so nervous and very like nerve-wracking to perform in front of a crowd and everything. But I mean, with my acting experience and all of the movies that I've done, the big crowd doesn't really bother me that much. I don't really get butterflies at all, like a lot of people do, or at least a lot of what people say that they do. Very calm as I go into everything once I get out there,
No, yeah, absolutely. And, when you have that calm demeanor, it can definitely make a lot of difference in the ring for sure. So, so I guess kind of to follow up on kind of what we've been talking about, just wrestling in general. You're definitely part of an interesting entity, independent wrestling. Independent wrestling's pretty incredible right now, and you're part of probably one of the best generations of wrestlers to come about. But in your opinion, what is the best and worst part of independent wrestling?
The worst part? I don't know. The first thing that comes to mind is sometimes the rings they don't feel too good. I mean, no ring really feels all that great, but difference from being in a decently good ring and then a very bad ring, and you can feel that very fast. But maybe that. Sometimes the locker rooms aren't always the best, but even for someone like me, which, I mean, that's outrageous that they would charge that much money and then not give me the best, but it's okay. It's whatever, I guess. That's for my agent to deal with, Gideon Weinstein. But the best part about independent professional wrestling, I mean, even though I hate most of those guys that I have to share a locker room with, I mean, it's their dream. It's their, childhood dream. I see whenever they come back, even sometimes me, I feel, that little 5-year-old kid in me that can't believe that they're doing this, that, is just ecstatic, remembers watching all those guys on TV and, going to little and for themselves, and then, being able to, one day here I am, I'm doing the exact same thing I saw, whoever do 15 years ago, or whatever. And, and even though, like, I really don't like children, they really bother me, but, I mean, seeing their expressions and seeing them light up to certain things, it doesn't warm my heart, but it's a pretty cool feeling.
You're like, it's not quite enough to warm my heart, but it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Right. So, and that's I feel like that's a pretty good positive side of independent wrestling. And I do hear that there are some of those rings are not so cushioned, so definitely I can understand that as well.
Yeah.
But so you've been, like you mentioned, you've been wrestling for a little bit now, for a little over a year, it looks like, about a year and a half almost, I think. You said June or July of 2017, is that right?
June of 2017. So yeah, a little over about a year and a half.
So you have quite a bit of wrestling, I would say, especially when you're starting out under your belt now. So far, and obviously you have a long career ahead of you, so this may change. But for right now, what's the top highlight of your career?
Oh, easy. FanFest 12, 2018, winning the NWF Tri-State Championship. Easy.
Easy peasy. Who did you win it from, or was it like an open tournament?
I defeated Alex Hayden for it in a 2 out of 3 falls match. We each had one up on each other, and so Roger Ruffin, who at the time was the owner, president, whatever you want to call him, of the NWF, he decided to make a 2 out of 3 falls match for the stipulation, and I beat him twice in a row. So, and then that's it. As the catchphrase goes, that's a wrap.
Yeah, that's a wrap. That's absolutely right. So I mean, that's a pretty good highlight, I'd say. It seems like a pretty good point in your career so far. And then, obviously, sometime down the road, that may change. You may win another great title, or maybe have a cool run-in with somebody. But that's a pretty good, I'd say, pretty good highlight so far. And I guess to kind of go along with the theme that we've been talking about, kind of talking about wrestling in general and representing, yourself in the business. Recently, there's been a big resurgence in Midwest wrestling. And as you'd mentioned, you traveled a long way to get to where you are now, both, training-wise, but also physically. You came from California, for God's sake.
Right.
But do you feel like you're representing your hometown in California when you wrestle in the Midwest?
Absolutely. I mean, I call myself Hollywood for a reason.
Right.
You know, I mean, it's where I'm from. It's a great place. If you ever get any money, which I doubt you will, I definitely highly suggest you going there, checking it out. You know, and going back to the title, like, it's just like that's what really warms my heart, is that there's no one better in the whole tri-state area to hold that championship. So someone from Hollywood, California has to come and hold it for them. That's what really makes me happy, because, I mean, all the fan favorites and everyone from Cincinnati, Ohio, you know, Indiana, Kentucky, wherever, they're not as good as Hollywood Adam Swayze.
Well, you know, that might be true. Like you said, they had to bring somebody in from out of the tri-state area to win the tri-state belt. So I guess that does say something, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Absolutely. So I guess to get a little more personal on you, we've talked a lot about your career up till now. We talked a lot about your wrestling. But let's talk about Adam Swayze outside of the ring. So for your fans, for the fans that you do have, what's one thing that they may not know about you? Is there like a neat thing that you like to do outside of the ring, hobbies or anything like that?
Honestly, one of my favorite things to do is watch my own movies.
Right.
Because, I mean, they're good. Like, they're great. Some of the best films I've ever seen. So that's something that I really like to do outside of, you know, training and, you know, dieting and being on the set, you know, all that stuff. I really like to just sit down in my own home theater and really just put on a good Adam Swayze film.
Absolutely. And I guess everybody who's listening on the podcast needs to go and look up a good Adam Swayze film. Is that right?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, if they haven't already seen all of them, which if you haven't, that's a shame. But you definitely need to go look up a few, at least, if not all of them.
If not all of them, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I mean, so that sounds like a pretty illustrious life outside of wrestling. You basically just sit down, watch your movies. It's kind of like watching tape for when you're watching like other wrestlers, but you're watching your own movies. So you're kind of like training yourself to be an actor by watching your own movies is kind of what I feel like.
Yeah, I mean, and they're great movies. I mean, I
Right.
get a lot of enjoyment out of doing it. So
Absolutely. Hey, if you're enjoying it, why stop, right?
exactly.
So I guess to kind of follow up along that, so personality-wise, obviously a lot of people may know your in-ring persona, but you about the same outside of the ring. I mean, from talking to you, it kind of sounds like it, but is that how you carry yourself outside the ring as well?
I mean, absolutely. You know, I pride myself on being the best and, you know, at least putting in 110% effort in being the best. And if I come up short, I'm very disappointed with myself and with my actions. And so, and that's with everything that I do, with movies, wrestling, working out, anything that I do. I am full-heartedly believe that I am the best at what I do. And if it's not that I believe it, then I'm trying as hard as I can to ensure that it happens.
Absolutely. And I suppose it's not a bad thing to be pretty driven like that. So, and that kind of actually leads into our next portion of this, kind of personal as well, you know, with wrestling and everything else. You know, 2018 has come to a close, and like you mentioned, you hit a pretty big milestone in 2018, winning that belt. But as the year closes, what are your goals for 2019?
Get out more with wrestling. Like go visit some more promotions. Now, there's a reason why I do what I do. There's a reason why I pride myself on believing that I am the best. You know, whether that be in, you know, more promotions in Ohio, Kentucky, Indiana, you know, California, anything on the West, East Coast, any Midwest, it doesn't matter. Just more promotions and finding more places to go,
No, absolutely. And that's not a bad goal, spread yourself out a little bit, getting some more exposure everywhere can't hurt.
Exactly.
But I guess it's kind of to wind down a little bit and kind of wrap a little bit here for you. Not only as a wrestler, but as a larger-than-life person as you are, I'm sure that you have some social media. So where can people follow you in your career and see what you're doing next?
You can follow Adam Swayze personally on Facebook at Adam Swayze. You can follow me on Twitter at Hollywood Swayze. Or you can find me on any of the Facebook pages of the Northern Wrestling Federation or the Primetime Wrestling. That is a promotion down in Paris, Kentucky that I go to. You can find me at any of those events. I'm there every Saturday, every Sunday. Saturday nights are the Northern Wrestling Federation, and Sunday nights are for Primetime Wrestling. So if you want to come and see Adam Swayze stomp some heads into the ground and defend the Tri-State Championship, then definitely find a way to get to one of those shows.
Whatever happened to you?
All right, and we're back with Whatever Happened To, the segment where we catch up on some often overlooked names from Midwest Wrestling's past. We are chatting with Andy Shane. How are we doing today? Oh, fantastic. Well, hey, thank you for coming on the show. But Andy, we're just going to jump right into it to start.
1990. I've been around a long time. I got as a football at Eastern Michigan University, got cut from the team. Was interested in doing some wrestling. I'd had some connection with George Cannon, and so I called George Crybaby Cannon. We met, we discussed it, and he actually took me down to Dr. Jerry Graham, and I was trained by Dr. Jerry Graham, Great Wojo, originally for wrestling, and all my main instruction was Jerry Graham and work with Wojo. I'd also had some input with Bobo Brazil, and actually Al Snow taught me how to bump very well. He improved my bumping, and did some work with developmental with Les Thatcher much later on. But Dr. Graham gave me all my first matches. Actually, my first matches were with Dr. Graham and Bulldog Don Kent, and tag, and then wrestled Graham all the time for a long time, and that's where we started.
Wow. So, I mean, that's a pretty good opening, a pretty good beginning to like a wrestling career. Had a lot of great, I guess you had mentors and teachers kind of early on. So, I mean, that great of a start. Probably rushed right into the business, like you mentioned, had some great first matches. Even some people that you got to work with, some of the people that you started with. But what were some of your favorite places to work in your early career?
Oh, it was interesting because my first guy I ever seen do anything was an interview with Bulldog Don Kent when I was 8 years old, watching it. My dad had it on TV, and I happened to walk in, and then for some reason stuck in my mind, Bulldog Don Kent, and so it was interesting. Literally like my probably fourth or fifth match, I don't know what it was, but I'm tag teaming with at that time Calypso Jim, who wrestled as Bobo Brazil Jr., and we're wrestling a tag against Jerry Graham and Bulldog Don Kent, and that was just amazing. As good as and smooth as a worker as Bulldog Don Kent was, as good as Dr. Graham was with all of the psychology and tag wrestling. It just it was just a absolute highlight for just being that quick in my career. Of course, I always took a beating. It just is what it is, and but it was just amazing. And I've had some incredibly good matches with Rob Conway. Really enjoyed that. Enjoy working Paul Roma. Always enjoy working Bobo Jr. Anyone Dr. Graham happens to be managing. Sexy Sean Casey. Remember Sean Casey? Still around, awesome shape. Always good to be in the ring with him. Cody Hawk. D-Ray 3000 or Rick Baker, he wrestles as too. Dirty, tag team that's recent now around here, that you might hear about in our young guys now. I'm the old guy now, but I still get to wrestle with some of these young guys that are just incredible. She's back in the day. I've done numerous jobs for WWE, WWF back then,
Right.
WCW, and ECW and Smoky Mountain. There's just a lot of guys. Did a lot of jobs. They're matches, but they aren't where I get to do a whole lot. But but I've had a lot of fun, and it's been a lot. I've had to have really good matches with Jim Neidhart, with Cowboy Bob Orton Jr. Like I said, Rob Conway's always absolute joy to work with. He's so good and so smooth. Paul Roma is just amazing. Terribly, Brian Costello, Big Buck Lawless, who has always had a ball wrestling with Buck Lawless. Maybe you don't know him, but he's all over the Midwest back in the day. He's no longer with us. God rest his soul. Him and JJ Lawless or Phil Monahan, always incredibly good matches with them. Always just a lot of guys, more than I can name.
Right.
I've been around for forever. You're around where I'm one of the last of the old guard where that was still worked with guys, that like Bulldog Don Kett and Dr. Jerry Graham. So.
Well, I mean, and obviously you had some, sounds like some great matches, and like, especially with all those names. I mean, you can name names for all day, and, regardless of who knows them, I feel like if you mention them as a great match, I mean, that's something special, of course, but,
with a lot of those guys, you just listen and you learn just right. By being in their presence.
Well, absolutely. That's exactly right. And I guess a little bit, because we've obviously talked a lot about kind of some matches and some people you got to work with, some events and whatnot. But one other thing I was kind of curious about, kind of just about your persona. Tell a little bit about this, because obviously, with all wrestling, there's the in-ring portion, but also there's the out-ring, or I guess you could say walking to the ring portion, where, you have your name, your gimmick. But tell us a little about the Flying Andy Shane name and how it kind of came to be.
Well, Andy Shane was a canon in Jerry Graham.
Okay.
Jerry Graham actually was the main one. Jerry Graham has always been heavily involved in my career from start to present. But they thought I wrestled a lot like Larry Shane. They didn't want me to be Larry Shane's son, nephew, uncle. They didn't want to go that route, but they thought I wrestled like him, and they wanted to kind of keep the name around. So they ended up giving me the name Andy Shane, because back in that long ago, the name Fish was considered a jabroni, someone that was easy to pin, someone who couldn't do anything back in that day. So they're like, my real name's Andrew Fish. Yes, I know it's Ukrainian. And so it's my father used to say, please excuse the language on this, but he goes, it's shortened from Ukrainian, from Fishitsky to Andy Fish. And they're just like, man, Fish has to go. And so after I was wrestling for a bit, a couple months, they're like, yeah, you wrestle a lot like Larry Shane did. We don't want you to be any relation to Shane, but we want you to carry the name. And they gave me the name.
Wow. So, I mean, that's kind of a passing of the torch, but kind of a subtle passing of the torch, if you will. But that's good, too, because I feel like your uncle,
Oh, yeah,
it gets old.
To death.
Yes, absolutely. Beating a dead horse just kind of gives it a new name, if you will. So, and that's pretty awesome, though. So then, of course, with that name and everything else, you had a lot of great matches. You mentioned quite a few there for some people you had to work with. But from my research,
I wrestled forever because how they liked I wrestled, and they liked how I sold. I wrestled for 10 years, subby face, only actually doing very little heel stuff. Right. Only a couple times for Smoky Mountain, and again just jobbing. And then I got turned heel, and I'm a very aggressive wrestling heel. And I wrestle face right now a lot for Powerbomb Wrestling in Toledo, and it's just I'm kind of a wrestling brawler, so I'm the guy that comes out, and I was always first and foremost a wrestler. I'm sorry. On my job, it says professional wrestler. That's what it says. That's what I am.
Right, absolutely. Yeah, nothing to apologize there for, because like you said, it's on your resume. That's what you are. But and also kind of, I guess, a little bit harken back just a little bit to something we kind of mentioned earlier. I believe you mentioned this already, but I want to go a little more in depth on it. But from some of my research and from talking with Dave, you had some pretty notable matches and feuds, but you had some with somebody by the name of Kurt Bayer, the son of Dick the Destroyer.
Kurt Bayer, yes. Yeah. I've done a lot of stuff. I'm very close with the Destroyer and the Bayer family, and Kurt wrestled actually as Destroyer Jr. over in Japan with the Destroyer. Wrestled as Kurt Bayer in Japan. Made a very good name for himself over there until he got injured in a motorcycle accident and obliterated his shoulder, and had to kind of retire for a while. He came back to the States because they'd lived in Japan for forever. I mean, they still had their home in Buffalo and stuff. And he decided he was going to do some more wrestling. And he came to a couple matches of mine that I was at because they had came to the area I was in. When he wanted to wrestle, he decided I was the only one he'd wrestle anywhere. And so we started wrestling quite regularly around. And I'd wrestle him because I could hang with the Japanese because he wrestled heavy Japanese style. Even though he's 6'5" and weighs 260 pounds.
Right.
He was incredible, and still he can move still pretty good for even though he's won't even go near it anymore. But he is one of those guys. He worked incredibly well. He didn't have always the most flamboyant presentation because he was trained Japanese style, where you just do it in the ring. But he always wanted me. I was always heel. He'd always wrestle face. It was funny because he's got that beautifully coiffed hair. And when he'd get too stoic and wouldn't be giving any personality, all I had to do was screw up his hair and he'd get pissed. And all of a sudden he had personality again. But he also, he just wanted to work. And he'd be like, if the crowd wasn't reacting, at 6'5" and 65 pounds, he'd be jump up on the top rope and be like, stop, suplex me off the top rope, belly to back or something. And he goes, I got to get the crowd to pop. It's like, we'll get there. Don't worry, relax. And I mean, by how many guys that big would ask someone my size? I'm 5'11". I weigh now I weigh 220 pounds. At that time, I weighed 210 pounds, 15 pounds. But that was it's like, oh, the crowd's getting too quiet. And I mean, and we always did, 20, 30-minute matches, which, is he just excellent anywhere, anytime. But he is also that wrestling because I can tell started getting blown up because he had to move so much. And on the moments of it's like, I'm gonna thumb you in the eye or clock you with a chair cell, get your breath back together. I'm gonna go screw with the guys in the crowd. I'll be back in a bit.
So we definitely
get together and get back together. So, Kurt Bayer's match with me as we were wrestling at Kovalev Stadium in South, and we're doing 8 minutes. We're doing 20 minutes. We're supposed to be about 4 or so. I had wrestled time that day under a full box suit under a hood twice, and it's on August 6th or something that opens. It's like it's on the mat. It's like 105 degrees, and I had no had hardly anything to drink. And I'd back in the day they took ephedrine. When you're getting tired, I came back and I'd popped an ephedrine, which was just a kind of like a triple caffeine and whatever at that time. And I did my second match in the hood. I'm just cooking, and I have to go out with Kurt, and we're out there and we are working our butts off. We're just moving the whole time. And I'm supposed to come back, and I'm going to clock him with a log chain. and pin him dirty. And at some point, I'm sitting there and I realize I'm seeing little birdies and stuff. You know, I know I'm going to pass out. I can tell it's coming. So I grab Woody, the ref, and I'm like, I'm going to go out. And he's like, you've been out like 30 times, Andy. I'm like, no, I'm passing out. I'm going out. And he's like, and he's laughing at me because he thinks I'm ribbing him. Kurt, we just finished something. He slams me. He's going up to the top rope. And at the timing, it looked like no one knew anything that was going on, not even Kurt at the time, because he dives off the top rope with his flying shoulder block as big as he is. And I remember turning and seeing him coming at me, and that's the last thing I remember. Apparently, now this is what I'm told. I do not remember this. This is what I'm told by virtually everyone there. Brian Costello, Cowboy Bobby, all those guys, they're like, he comes off and hits me perfect. I bump perfect. He covers me. And I'm supposed to kick out, and I don't. It goes 1-2, and he actually pulls me up. He goes, I was snoring. I was lying on the mat snoring. And Byers like, I hope you don't mind me saying this, Byers like, quit being an ass, Andy. And I don't know anything. I don't remember this at all, so I have no recollection of this. And he's like, and he drops me, and apparently I just dropped like a sack of, wet laundry, boom, down. And he's like looking at Woody, the ref. Woody's looking at him, and he's like, and he just covers me 1, 2, 3. I never move. And he gets up, and he won I had the belt that day, and he wasn't supposed to get the belt, but he gets the belt now. And he goes walking back, and he says something about, I didn't want to win it like this, but whatever, and he walks back. As he's walking back, he runs into Costello, who's running the show, right. And Costello says to him, hey, Andy put the belt on you. That was awful nice of him. And he's like, he's being a dick out there. I don't know what he's doing, but he's still lying out there. And he walks in the locker room. Costello comes out, and at this point, I'm trying to stand up. I still don't remember any of this. I have no recollection of this at all whatsoever. So I'm getting what I'm doing secondhand from other people. Right. So I really don't know what's going on at this moment. And I had nothing to eat that day either. I don't eat a lot, on days I'm wrestling. And it's usually protein shakes. And I'm not quite standing up. I'm on a knee. And Costello slides in the ring and grabs me and goes, Andy, you okay? And I say to him, is what he tells me. I don't remember this. Yeah, I'm fine. And he kind of helps me stand up. And I stand up, and it looks like a work. I stand up, and I grab the top rope, and he steps away from me, and I fall face down onto the mat. And he's laughing at me. And he's like, are you sure you're okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm fine. And so he actually grabs my arm, pulls me out, throws me over his shoulder, and carries me back. He thinks I'm ribbing him now.
Right.
So they carry me all the way back into the locker room, and they sit me down next to Kurt. Now, again, I still don't recall any of this. So I'm sitting there, and apparently I say to Kurt, everything okay? He's like, yeah. He goes, but what the fuck are you doing out there? Excuse me, I'm sorry. What are you doing? He goes, that wasn't funny, Andy. I don't need that rib out there. And I go, did I catch you with anything? He's like, well, no. And I'm taking my boot off. So I take my left boot off or whatever, and then I start putting it back on. Okay? He goes, yeah. I didn't catch your thing, did I? He's like, and then now he's realizing something's not. He's like, no, I didn't pick up. As I get tied up, I start taking it off again. I ask him again. Now they go grab me a freaking Gatorade. Right. I hit a Gatorade, and I grab a protein bar, too. And this I remember. I turn to him, and I go, how the hell did I get in the locker room? Now he's sure I'm ribbing him. And I'm like, honestly, how did I get in the locker room? So he tells me what happened, and I'm like, no. So, yeah, I just was all of a sudden perfect again. So I got my blood sugar up and some electrolytes in me. I was absolutely fine. And anyways, he loves that. He always tells everyone I fainted because I saw a big man coming off the top rope. I tell him that's the wrong story. The story he has to tell is that this kid thought he was going over, and he said, no, the only thing he's going over is the top rope. I go, that's the story he's supposed to tell. Instead of telling everyone I fainted because I saw a big man coming off the top rope. But it's Byers, so he tells it like he wants.
Right. Right. Oh, man. That's awesome, though. I mean, that's a fantastic story, obviously. Not that you passed out, but, oh, man, that's wild.
Well, yeah.
That's wild, though, because you hear a lot of people getting, like a nice, little stinger from, a bad bump or something like that, and they don't really remember how they got back to the locker room. But it's crazy like what the body does just like when you haven't really eaten anything all day, you know.
Yeah, that was just like I said. He thought that everyone thought I was a rib because I stood up, I turned into him, and I remember him coming off the rope. He hit me, and the moment I never remember him hitting me. I remember him coming off the rope and being halfway to me. That's the last thing I remember. He hit me, I bumped, and the next thing I remember was after I was coherent enough to drink a Gatorade and pop a protein bar, and when I got that in my system and it all caught up, I was absolutely fine. So I yelled at him because, you know, we're like a year later, he's at the Hall of Fame thing with Harley Race.
Yeah.
And he's talking to Harley about me, and then he's like, oh, man, yeah. And he goes, he hadn't had anything to eat hardly that day, and he you know, he'd been wrestling 3 times, and on the 3rd match, you know, he's wrestling me. We're at like 28 minutes, and he goes, just passed out on that bone, and he's telling him what happened. Harley Race that story. Don't ever tell Harley Race that story. I go, you tell Harley Race this kid thought he was going over, and you're like, oh, hell no, he's not. I go, that's the story you tell Harley Race. Harley Race was a badass.
Right. you're like, you don't tell him some whack story about me about that.
Yeah. Don't tell him I passed out. Tell him you knocked me out.
Right.
I go, I can take the honor of being knocked out in the match. Damn it, I don't need this. He just passed out because he saw a big man coming off the top rope. Crap.
That's crazy. I mean, first of all, it's great enough that he was talking to Harley Race, but not so great that he told him that story.
So, but yeah. So no, I always love wrestling Kurt Beyer and Beyer family. I once wrestled Kurt we did the what was it, the 4th of July parade in Buffalo or in Akron. In Akron, whatever. Wrestled. I mean, we're on and off. Wrestled almost 2 hours. We did the entire parade on a ring in back of a flatbed trailer. Just did spots, and we as we're coming around the corner, our finish is I got to climb up. But by the way, you haven't lived till you've taken a superplex on a semi as it's cornering at like 3 miles an hour. It's just weird. Superplex, then boom, goes for count or whatever. My foot's on the rope as I get up, catches me in the airplane spin, of course, because it's Destroyer's in the corner, yelling at us the whole time, and puts me down, puts me in a figure 4 leg lock. As we're pulling in front of the city council and the mayor. So
that's wild too. You're like, hey, you've never lived until you've taken a superplex on a semi truck going 3 miles per hour.
Semi truck going 3 miles per hour in a parade. Yep. So.
You know what?
It's been a lot of fun. I got a lot of guys I like working. Kurt Beyer is an absolute, was amazing. Way underrated. Didn't get near enough. Like I said, they're going to do a big push on him when he came back after doing the retirement match with Dick. They did the tag matches, sold out frickin' Budokan and for the retirement matches. And they had planned on bringing him back under the hood as Destroyer Jr.
Yeah.
And they're going to put him over big. And he got in a motorcycle wreck and just obliterated his shoulder and was out for 2 years or whatever, 1.5 years, and it just never worked out again for him to get that push. So it was a shame, but unbelievably good talent.
No, yeah, absolutely. It's weird because I think I've heard about him, but especially during my research, I was able to get a little bit of a better look and a little bit more of an insight about that. So. But definitely, kind of from our conversation so far, we talked a lot about, how you got started, some of the people you got to work. You told us a lot of great stories about you and Kurt. But you kind of mentioned this previously, and I kind of want to touch on it a little bit more. But you mentioned that you still do work from time to time.
Yes.
When you do work, I don't know if you have anything coming up in the near future, so feel free to throw that out there if you do. But when you do work, who are some of the people you like to work currently? Because I know you mentioned some names, but I don't know if there's anybody else you like that you work with consistently now.
So I work. We run a show, Powerbomb Wrestling, out of Toledo, Ohio, mostly. Okay. We're on Channel 24 out of Toledo at 2 a.m. Sunday mornings. We're on Fight TV, Powerbomb Wrestling there. PBW, Powerbomb Wrestling. I do stuff with CIW, which is ran by Phil Monahan. I still do stuff for the IAW, which is ran by Brian Costello. And I do stuff for Bobo Brazil Jr. down in Indianapolis and in Louisville occasionally. I don't do as much as I used to do, but I still keep a little busy. We got a show coming up for Powerbomb on December 28th on Friday night. It's a TV taping. I should be wrestling Sexy Sean Casey that night. Looking forward to it. Get my hands on Sean Casey one more time. We've tagged together. We've worked with and against each other, and it's always a joy to work him. It's always better to kick the crap out of him.
Right. That's absolutely right.
Guys I love working still. Cody Hawk, Sean Casey, guys that are around. The Dirty are amazing. History in the Making, which is Celeste Taylor and Brian Douglas, two amazing young wrestlers. They're just incredible. Nate Madsen, Ben Boone. We have we're working with Mad Dog Fulton right now, who was just an NXT short while ago. Incredible talented guy. Like I said, we still do some stuff with Bobo Brazil. Brandon Day is a real good wrestler that's around now that we work with. I got the Circus of Pain, two great big crazy 6'5", 340-pound clowns that it's like a cross between Doink and frickin' Abdul the Butcher. It's I after I wrestle them too long, I forgot how to put on a headlock and do a move, because it's just fight for your life and hope you come out the other side. But yeah, there's so many. There's such incredible talent out on that independent circuit right now. And like I said, we got CIA. Denzel Titan and Diamond Couture, just incredible wrestlers that are just a joy to be in the ring with. Palmer Cruz, these guys are just around, and they're just incredible workers. Just happy to have them around and be around them. Graham says to me now, he goes, "Oh my God, if I had these guys back when we were running Brewster Bedlam in the WWA," he goes, "Oh my God, we could have gone another 10 years." They're just such incredible, talented guys.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I definitely heard. I've actually heard quite a few of those guys, and they are really great. I've seen a little bit here and there on different things, and definitely sounds like you guys have a really good crew going on. And I guess before we move on, definitely everybody go check out Powerbomb Wrestling. I've heard a lot of great things about it. I've seen it a few times, so really can't go wrong with wrestling. And what a great name Powerbomb Wrestling is, I gotta say.
So we do what we can. You work with what you got.
That's absolutely right. But I guess pardon me, stuttering a little bit here. But I guess as we kind of wrap it up, something we'd like to ask the people we bring on here is, a lot of people know like the in-ring persona. They know who you are, what you do in real, in the ring. But for most people, not all, of course, but for some, outside of wrestling, they have like kind of a day job, if you will. So what are you up to outside of wrestling? Who is go ahead.
Yeah, no, I right there. I'm EMT. I actually don't work on the road anymore on the ambulance. I actually teach at Jackson College, a college up here. I teach their CPR and first aid. I teach their EMTs. I teach with the EMTs in their early classes. I do some ACLS and stuff with that. I go out and I teach companies and Eagles and schools do CPR and first responder first aid. I got actually coming up a whole bunch of the Armed Forces recruiters I'm going to be doing here this week. Certified in their CPR, AED, first aid stuff. On top of that, I'm the assistant soccer coach for the boys and girls soccer at Columbia Central High School. I also do a lot of training there for them, all about the first aid training, and do some of the strength training and stuff for them. I have certifications in national strength and conditioning and athletic council exercise. I got a wider range of stuff.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely sounds like you're keeping yourself busy for sure.
So yes, I do. I keep very busy. So our boys soccer team. We went, last year we went 21-4 or 21-5. We made it to regionals. We were division champs, district champs, and won our first regional game ever in school's history. Have the most wins that they've had in school history. Just an incredible group of boys that got to work with there. Our varsity girls are just a great group of girls too. They always do very well in the division also. So we're looking forward to that. That's going to be coming up here soon. And so it's just always a lot of stuff going on. So it's good to be. If I keep busy, I keep out of trouble.
Right. That's right. What do they say? Idle hands are the devil's playthings, right?
Yes, they are that.
Oh gosh.
That and if it's just it keeps me out of trouble. It's best. We'll keep it PG. It's best just keep me out of trouble.
Hey, there's nothing wrong with that. If you keep out of trouble, you're all good to go, right? Do you get into trouble on the weekends when you do your wrestling? That's right.
Well, that's I always say, being able to clock someone with a log chain and a steel chair keeps me sane, so I don't have to do it during regular days at work and stuff. So
yeah, that's right. Gets that frustration out. Gets that frustration out, so you don't take it out on your coworker, right?
Absolutely. Yep.
Oh gosh. Well, I guess kind of one last thing for you. I know that you still work and you still kind of make your rounds, but in the modern age of social media, do you have any kind of social media that fans can follow you on to kind of keep up with what you're doing?
Keep up with me on pbwexcitement.com and the Powerbomb Wrestling Facebook page and stuff. I'm one of them old timers. I don't get a ton on. I don't go all over Facebook and do this Twitter and all that stuff. I always figure I don't need to jump on and have. No offense to the podcast, but I have everything recorded, everything taped, and I don't need you to know that I'm stopping by a restaurant uptown to have lunch. I find it fascinating that people in the world want every moment that they're doing taped. And I'm sorry, I got Big Brother issues. I'm a bit of a paranoid, if you will, about Big Brother once in a while, and it's like I can't believe everyone wants everything taped 100% of the time. I like having the wrestling taped. I like doing the interviews. That's more than enough in my life.
That's absolutely okay. I get that 100%. You know what they say? You read George Orwell's 1985 just once, and that's all you need.
You go.
That's all you need to do. Read that once, and it's all you're good. But no,
I learned several things from Dr. Graham that go well in everyday life. One is, win if you can, lose if you must, but always cheat. The second thing is, if you ain't cheating, you ain't trying. I'm not going to say Dr. Graham was a lifelong heel, but we'll just go that route. Right. And the last one, you aren't really paranoid if they're really after you. So
if you're not, that's a good one. I like that one. You're not really paranoid if they're really after you.
Absolutely.
You've heard him here on the Dave Dynasty Show as a guest and as host of the monthly Graham's Gallery episodes. And now you can hear his stories. You can own a copy of Confessions of a Big-Time Wrestler, the audio book from Dr. Jerry Graham Jr., former multi-tag team champion in WWA and owner of Bruiser Bedlam. You can hear all of his encounters with the various wrestlers, places, and promotions he's worked as he tells about his colorful, long, and illustrious career. You can have your own copy for only $25, and that includes shipping and handling. It's very simple. Go on Facebook, look up Jerry Jaffe, Jaffe, send him a private message, and make arrangements to purchase a copy of Confessions of a Big-Time Wrestler now. You will not regret this purchase. All right. Special thanks to Hollywood, Adam Swayze, and Andy Shane for coming on today and giving us those interviews. Also, thanks to Shane Mercer and Johnathan Wolf for taking the time to discuss those recent headlines involving those two. And thank you for joining us every week on this on this podcast. And whichever way you do, be sure to subscribe to us and review. We're available on all the podcast platforms. So wherever you listen to us, please make sure you subscribe to us. And if applicable, leave us a rating and review. It really helps us. And then in social media, make sure you share the episodes. Help spread the word to all your fans and followers and friends, etc. And make sure you follow us on social media. We're available on everything: Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. Subscribe to us on YouTube. And it's real easy to find all that. Just go to davedynasty.com. Up at the top, there are buttons to click to take you to all those social media links. So make sure you do that. And while you're supporting us, please continue to do those things that helps keep this show free for you every week. We really have 3 methods that you can support us, right? It does cost us money to do this show. You are able to financially help us, and it's really minimal contributions to you, but it really means a lot on our end. And those 3 methods are: you can go to PROWRESTLINGTEES.com/TheDaveDynasty and buy a shirt. We have the Midwest Express shirt, we have the classic Dave Dynasty Show logo shirt, and we also have t-shirts for Dr. Jerry Graham Jr. and for Izzy Slapowitz. Christmas is upon us. You're not too late to order those as gifts. Please go to our Pro Wrestling Tees store and order a shirt. Or if you'd just like to chip us a few bucks, it is the Christmas season, as I said. So if you would like to kick a few bucks our way to help support this show, go to paypal.me/TheDaveDynasty. Anything helps, just a few bucks helps keep this show rolling for free. And if you'd like to make monthly contributions to the show, go to patreon.com/TheDaveDynasty. We appreciate your support. We appreciate your help. We have a lot of great episodes coming up between now, the end of the year, and just beyond, including upcoming is a very Dynasty Christmas 3. Doing things a little differently this year. We've always done a lot of songs and parodies in the past. We're not doing that so much this year. We're going to talk about WWA Christmas shows. So if you have any memories of those shows, if you attended any of them, or anything like that, please contact us. Reach out to us on any social media means and let us know your story. We're also going to have the Midwest Year-End Award Show coming up, featuring me and Andy from the Road Home from Wrestling Podcast and Chad from MidwestTerritory.com, where we're going to give out those awards, right? Give out like there's something to give. No, these are fan-voted awards. Something fun, just something to get people talking, get some attention on the Midwest product, right? The Midwest Territory, as Chad says. And so that episode is coming up. Plus, in the future, there'll be more great episodes, more great Graham's Galleries, WWA Detroit and AWA history episodes, plus all the legends and new talents and interviews that you like to hear, again, every week for free. So make sure you support us. Keep us growing. Keep us rolling. We appreciate everything you do. And that wraps up another episode. Before we completely get out of here, once again, we'd like to pay our respects and our memories to Larry the Axe Hennig. And one of the highlights of my life is when I talked to Larry and he sung me a song. I'm telling you, it'll forever be one of my greatest memories. And to get out of here, to close us out today, we give it to you, Larry the Axe Hennig, singing to us one more time.
Oh, cowpoke went riding out one dark and windy day. Upon a ridge he rested as he went along his way. Oh, and all at once a mighty herd of red-eyed cows he saw, plowing through the ragged sky and up a cloudy draw. Yippee-i-oh, yippee-i-yay, ghost riders in the sky.